Aloha. There's a number of things I wanted to speak on today, but it's really one of the main things I wanted to talk about is just illusion. Basically, how it's all around us, and we pay into this space when we, from the magic side of illusion in the mainstream. So we pay into this space in our reality. When we wake up every morning, we choose to interact and engage in the reality. We engage in the reality by investing our energy into this space. We put our energy into a job that a lot of jobs that even exist that wouldn't even need to exist. And on top of that, a lot of jobs that exist at the expense of other people's lives. So for a perfect example would be like the military and the idea of war and the false reality, the illusion of the fact that the human species hasn't evolved to a space enough to realize that it doesn't need to be at war with itself in order to experience a reality, a harmonic reality on this planet. Perfect example of this would be the city of Emeryville and the Shellmound Bay Street Mall that's down there. So a lot of people have heard of this place. They don't know the history about this. A lot of people travel from all over the world don't even pay attention to this. But the Emeryville Shellmound burial ground, Shellmounds were all over the Bay Area. The Ohlone People had Shellmounds everywhere. There's people that got up and met up in these little locations and hung out while they were traveling from all over the world, whatever they were doing, and kicked back these shell mounds, these shells when they were right off the bay, eating off the bay when it was natural. Now, one of these shell mounds in the Bay Area, in fact, the biggest one that was out here was the Emeryville shell mound, the so-called Emeryville shell mound, which when I started off was saying that the name for the website for Emeryville is the Evil Eye. So these are all magic coatings that get put in here that need to be put in, so we pay our magic, our energy, our life force energy into allowing this stuff to be. So we have the Evil Eye is the website. Emeryville is basically a conglomerate of the entire Bay Area with people and all of the. It's a very if you ask me, it really is like a top of the pyramid of illusory human existence in the Bay Area. So it's a collection of the consumerists and the money-hungry banking industry, San Francisco's Federal Reserve Mint. That whole mentality with a mixture of Oakland is basically still Oakland. This is all Emeryville is basically Oakland, and the Shellmound area is just the energetic space where people posted it up there and kicked back and ate a whole bunch of shells straight out of the bay before it was poisoned by the paint company that was there, Sherwin-Williams, and covered up by the IKEA and the water treatment plant that's over there right underneath the big giant the freeway maze. But that's where all these big buildings come in to cover up these energetic grounds. And not only energetic grounds, because that's why people gravitate towards certain places, just like Mount Shasta, Sedona, Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu, Giza. People gravitate towards these spaces because they are spiral energies. They are energetic vortices, vortex energy through the planet that we feel just like a spiral. We feel this in our space, and we gravitate towards these areas, and we invest our energy in there and interact with people on a harmonic scale. So when you get disharmonic magicians in there playing with magic and installing artificial vortices on top of energetic grounds, then that's when you start to develop a cancerous society that people will inhabit and think that it's their reality and install it as their reality and become a cancerous so-called civilization. That's what civilization is. It's the slave mentality. It's based upon a separation idea from the harmonics of nature. It's a total separation. So the actual, and I'll get into how the depths of the magic right now is the fact that the first time that the European group moved into the Ohlone the Ohlone area where there existed the Ohlone land. The first time the Europeans came here, they installed a dance pavilion on top of the largest shell mound in the Bay Area. And this was not just a shell mound. This is a burial ground. There are bones that are inside those shell mounds, and it was a whole ceremony there. This is not just like a happenstance. These are all very on-purpose codings that get installed into our realities. And when we wake up in the morning, we go to work, and we go get our so-called money, which is just energy, and you install that energy into a system of understanding, a mindset, then you are activating a magic that you don't necessarily realize you're a part of on a grand scale. Now when you zero it down to the individual and being a part of this abnormal environment, which is the infrastructure for a cancer, because you think everything's normal, but meanwhile shit is festering into the system to create a separation from your reality, not only from your reality but from yourself. So we are surrounded by a consumeristic reality that we understand as, you know, to be real, and we install that as who we are, but that's not who we are. We're not our shoes, we're not our haircuts, we're not I'm as much, you know, this, you know, my person, this sweater is, you know, this is all a human suit. This is all like we created this suit to experience this reality. But when you get caught up in a busy state of time and time manipulation, then that's when your suit can be convinced for who you are, and what you put on that suit can be convinced for who you are, and these are just layers of separation. And then you have your family members paying into these layers of separation, judging and putting all these other kind of different perspectives on what it is. Meanwhile, we're separating from our actual ancestors that are buried underneath the Victoria's Secret, the Apple, the Banana Republic, the Cornology, the African culture store, not African, the African culture store, the PF Chains with 2 giant horses, the AT&T store, the Bank of America, the AMC theaters, the Elm West, the Elephant Bar. You got all these, a whole store dedicated to only sugar. You can't tell me that's not some magic going on right now. So that's supposedly a kid's store only for candy, called like It's Sugar. Not only that, but they put Christmas, like one Christmas they had a big old shopping cart Christmas tree. And so that's like 3 layers of what the fuckness going on there. It's just like, this is some deep programming that the ideas of what your reality is have to be implanted so deeply, so far into your bloodline, into your mindset, that it deactivates your actual connections to yourself, and then you walk around thinking life is a certain way, meanwhile paying into stuff like the burial grounds down there. And we separate from it. So that's what the whole culture is based on: creating gaps, separate, divide and conquer, divide culture, and install artificial, a Sims reality. So this goes back to what I was talking about, or I wanted to get into, which was the whole microchip technology, and how installing, I was explaining in another video earlier, how installing a microchip into your animal. And that's a whole other thing too, the psychology of taking your dogs for a walk all the time and then not even be able to take your kids out to experience some kids and parents time, and that whole thing, like what that does to the psyche of a child and a child's mind when they're like, oh, okay, well, parent takes dog for a walk, but parent doesn't have time to take kid to park. Like, these are whole concepts and ideas that get installed with certain groups of mindsets. And this is a mindset that I really wanted to get into, because I wanted to explain the mindset to see how far these things have really gone. The mindset of, I'm in good time. So there's a mindset that exists right now, speaking on the microchip, and that's the microchip to have the whole like, oh, everything's great, just get your dog, just install a microchip into your dog and we can see your dog all over the place, da da da. So yeah, when you're invested in a world and you see that world and you limit your surroundings to only that, or you limit your awareness to only that perspective, you can see, yeah, that's I can't even say it, a great idea. But somebody thought it was a great idea. Not only a great idea, that it's like mainstream now. So this is the whole magic of the mainstream. So when you install it in you're desensitizing it. So that's basically the whole reality is to desensitize the individuals, create gaps, and you can install reality in their senses. You take their senses and install in whatever your sense reality is, and then you have your own robot. So it's taking the humanity out of existence and installing a robot technology. So the microchip in your dog is desensitizing you from your connection to life itself and the creator itself, and saying, okay, technology needs to go in here because my mindset is so fearful that I might lose whatever people go through to convince themselves to do that sort of thing. And then, but that's not the point. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for dogs or whatever. I don't even know. It's not for me to decide. The point is the desensitizing of the mindset to where they're starting to do it with children, and then they move into installing microchips in children in certain areas. They amplify that by putting that on TV, and they create an environment to where people are just like, these are the people that would do this, and these are the people that wouldn't do this, and you're an outcast if you don't do this, and such or whatever. We're the great movement, the new evolutionary idea. These are all ideas that get installed, illusions that get installed and create more separation. So I hate to stay on point with the microchip. So there's an idea, what I was saying earlier, there's a group, there's a mindset of people that have rationalized the whole microchip space. This is a subcategory to the microchip. So that rationalize the space of, oh yeah, I'll install that microchip in my child, but not myself, because I'm not a part of that world. Like they're okay. They're getting ready to be a part of that world, so it's okay to install a microchip in my child. But I'm not gonna I'm not gonna put it in because I don't need it. I'm not part of it. I'll just pay cash. I'll just do this. I'll just do. But it's their future. They're part of the new technological world, so they'll do it. This a mindset exists, and I want to explain that because there's a fucking culture out there. There's a whole mindset of people that are saying, I will not only never let that shit in my body, but I sure as hell won't let that shit go into my child's body. That's a mindset. There's a human connection there. There's a heart connection there that exists that is being installed as the opposite, and the mainstream is saying that no, you should do this. Like when it becomes like commercial, this is part of the magic I was explaining earlier, how this movement came in and installed a dance pavilion on top of a burial ground, started dancing on top of the Ohlone People's graves, their sacred land, and the Bay Street Shellmounds down there, started dancing, literally dancing on graves. And how we think today that things have changed and that this is all, whatever, the technological, this whole world wants to start on certain layers of existence. They want to start on certain like sub layers of our story called his story. And that's the whole like basis to it, is keeping their own mentality, the separation going, the sexism, the racism, the black and white, the cube culture. Like it's a whole boxing in, a technological movement to remove your humanity, desensitize the human space, and install a totally disassociated, technological coded mentality, a trend. This is what basically the transhumanism movement is. And your phone, your social media, all this stuff is the precursor. It's like just like the microchip in the puppy, so you don't lose your puppy. Yeah, they sell it to you as like a great idea, a good thing, but the magic behind that is to install an idea beforehand. And how it gets installed in all the rest of the cultures, I wanted to emphasize is that we get these ideas installed as something, and we don't pay attention to how deep these layers go and how deep these installments go into our humanity. So I just wanted to bring light to the fact that how these cultures exist, and the fact that there's people who won't do this at all, and then there's people that like rationalize it. The fact that exists is a fucking problem that we have to look at. So I'll leave it there. Until next time, peace, love, and harmony.